Broadcasting live from Amy Sedaris' wig, this is Pop Culture Reference, your one-stop reference for all things pop culture. I'm one of your hosts, Seamus Connolly.
I'm Garrett Strother.
I'm Ricardo Salgado. What's up, everybody?
How are you boys doing today?
I am very excited to talk about our main segment, Seamus.
I am too. I had a blast watching it very early in the morning, like Christmas, but... Well, that's for the main segment, really. We have a bit of news to get through, actually.
Not quite as much as last week, but yeah, there's quite a bit of news.
There's
here.
some good stuff in there this week.
I agree,
yeah.
Including some weird possible news to start us off. So, there's a rumor going around that the new 007 No Time to Die, turns out there might be some time to die, that's what we hear, is considering going to a streaming service for a $600 million price tag.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ, okay. Is there any rumor about what streaming service this would go to? I guess it would be like...
I mean, Disney was just asking for 30. This is insane.
Yeah. Each of us is going to shell out our 600 mil. Don't even worry about it. Hey, between the three of us, that's just 200 mil apiece, so...
Sponsors, let's get this going.
But, here's the thing. There's not been any rumors, but there are only a couple of streaming services that have that kind of capital. Netflix doesn't seem to have any problem going further into debt, so could be them. Amazon definitely has that kind of money. Like, Jeff Bezos could buy it. Like, literally just Jeff Bezos for his own personal gain. You've got HBO, who seems to be really happy to spend money on exclusives. Like, they're dropping 70 mil or whatever on the Snyder Cut. It wouldn't surprise me.
Isn't Bond a Warner movie?
Bond is MGM.
Oh.
And then the last one that I could see Disney doing it, because I know Bob Iger, who's of course no longer in charge, but still. Bob Iger talked about the fact that Disney was maybe thinking about buying James Bond anyway?
Yeah, I remember him musing about that not too long ago. And, I mean, this is going to be a pretty big one. Is this the... I know, I don't ever know. Is this the last Daniel Craig Bond, or do they have another one?
Yes, this is the last Craig Bond.
So, yeah, if they really want to go out with a bang, this would be the one to do it with. What streaming service has the Bonds, like the old Bonds right now?
Netflix has a couple of the Craig Bonds right now, at least, and I think they've also got, like, the Brosnans and further back.
I think Amazon has, like, the real old ones, like the Connery ones, on their Prime.
It seems like right now... Probably because they're trying to hype up the new one. It seems like a lot of streaming services have Bond access right now. I feel like Amazon is the one that has them the most frequently. Like, whenever I go to watch a Bond movie, I usually end up on Amazon.
I got nothing else to really say about this Bond. I guess I would rather see a James Bond in the theater, ideally, but, ideal situations aren't happening right now, so...
Yeah.
As long as I'm not having to pay, that premium access price tag, if it's a little more closer to like Bill and Ted's price tag, maybe that'd be a little better.
This is gonna probably pop up a lot more now that it's kind of settling in for studios. Like, oh damn, there's like no feasible way we can just keep delaying this movie forever until like the virus goes away. Like, they're all being backed into this corner.
I think the two exciting things about this is, one, it sounds like, from what the rumors are, we wouldn't actually be having to pay any kind of rental fee, Seamus.
Ooh, okay.
Because they're trying to sell it for $600 million to a specific streaming service, so presumably they would be relying on bringing in new subscribers.
Interesting.
And then second off, I'm with you that obviously I would rather see Bond in a theater. But personally, I'm hoping this rumor is true because Bond is the next movie that would actually tempt me to go back when it comes out in April. And I still frankly don't think the world's going to be ready for movie theaters in April. So I would rather see this on streaming than have to sit it out when it comes to the theater.
I think you might be right on that.
But yeah, we'll keep you guys updated if there's any more official news on this. Up next, we thought the Snyder Cut couldn't get any weirder after last week, but we've recently had confirmation that Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke is joining the Snyder Cut reshoots for Justice League.
So, I might be a little behind on DC movies. Has this version of Deathstroke been in anything?
I think he's in
one thing.
Yeah, he's in one scene of BVS, right, Ricardo?
I think, is he? I was gonna say he's just in the end credits of Justice League when that came out originally.
I don't think it was Batman v Superman. Because
maybe that's a
like
deleted
he's on a boat
scene
with Eisenberg.
Wow, okay.
I don't know.
You guys not know?
Hell
what I'm
no,
talking
man.
about?
I've not seen any of these.
Blocked out the
really.
Justice League, apparently. Or I just didn't even wait for an after credit scene. I just slammed my laptop after the credits started rolling.
But yeah, Joe Manganiello, Deathstroke. I'm just gonna call him Deathstroke.
Yeah.
He was in the after credit scene of Justice League when it first came out. He's like hopping onto a boat, meeting with Jesse Eisenberg, not being insane, and he's wearing like an old like Gene Hackman suit.
Oh, very nice.
And they're like, oh man, they've started a league. Looks like we'll have to start a league of our own.
I like him as an actor. I like that character. This movie is gonna be so bloated.
It's insane. How can they just keep packing on more and more? It's almost gonna make me have to rewatch the original cut first to just like truly absorb all of these insane add-ons that we keep hearing about.
See, that was my original plan was to go in blind to this and see it as my first version of Justice League, but I feel like if I do that, I will not be able to accurately compare what's going on.
I think you might have to do a like back-to-back double feature with no downtime in between. Make a day of it and
Lord.
just ruin yourself.
8 hours of... Oh, man.
I've said this before. Can't we just watch the Guardians of Gahul instead?
No, we can't watch the Guardians of Gahul.
It's on Hulu.
Speaking of, there's something with like moons or something in the Guardians of
Moonblinkus?
Gahul, right?
Excellent transition.
Thank you. We have more superhero news. Oscar Isaac is reportedly in talks to be Moon Knight for Marvel's Disney Plus Moon Knight series.
That's a
I think
big
that's
get.
awesome. I think that's totally killer.
I kind of can't believe it because Oscar Isaac famously hated the way Disney handled his character on Star Wars and the way that studio interference kept his character from being what he wanted it to be and what some of the directors wanted it to be. So I'm a little surprised to see him so eager to reteam with Disney, but also, you know, I understand the actors are paid.
Like you said, Garrett, this is all just rumor floating around this casting, and I'm personally, like, I've never really read any of the Moon Knight comics. I don't think he's appeared in anything live action ever, like, in any major appearances.
It's possible, I suppose, that he popped up on one of the obscure Marvel shows at some point, but I don't think so.
Yeah, him getting to be the star, though, I guess is what I'm getting at. If they do this right, it's a character that's going to absolutely blow up. You know, like Deadpool style. It's all about, like, the dark comedy that goes along with a mentally unstable, bloodthirsty anti-hero. And if they're making it quippy and they're making it Oscar Isaac...
What do you guys know about Moon Knight?
He worships a moon god, and he's very mentally unwell, and he wears a white suit with a hood, I think.
And he met Dracula that one
Yeah.
time, and that's memed into oblivion.
Exactly.
Maybe they'll cross him over with Blade.
Honestly, that would be a smart thing to do. That would be a good way to bring those characters in together.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Jeez.
I think we have learned to not necessarily trust these rumors after the whole Tatiana Maslany thing
Right, yeah.
blew up on us. I don't even think we talked about that on the show, but apparently she's saying that's all a rumor and that she hasn't spoken to anybody
Didn't
about
we talk about
being
this on
that
last week's
character.
episode?
I don't think so.
Am I crazy?
Ricardo talked about it with Diego on last week's live action
That's
remake.
definitely what I'm thinking of. I thought that episode was great.
So yeah, I think we've kind of learned not to trust these rumors right away, even though this one's getting pretty big coverage. I think I'll wait until we have official word to really go in on it.
I was about to say, I forgot that Oscar Isaac was in another Marvel thing. I forgot he was Apocalypse.
Oh my god,
That's
I
right.
completely forgot that he was Apocalypse. That was like more towards The Force Awakens in terms of time, right? That was a long time ago.
Mhm. Also, but you can't see him even in that
No,
makeup.
it looks nothing like him. His voice is like distorted and booming the entire time. It's barely him.
So yeah, they'll probably make some kind of joke about that if it's gonna be as meta as Moon Knight often seems to be in the comics.
Like the intro of Deadpool where the photo of the Green Lantern is just like floating around the car, stuff like that.
Exactly. I mean, I hope this is true because I like Oscar Isaac, but I also kind of want to see him do weirder non-studio projects, but also get paid, dude, you know?
Well, depending on what they do with Moon Knight, because Moon Knight as a character is pretty out there. Like, even the whole multiple personality thing, I think he could have fun with.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's a couple of concerns there. One, I know, like, movies like Split caught a lot of flack for kind of trivializing dissociative identity disorder and making it like a fun superpower thing. And then also, I feel like that was kind of just done with Legion. I think Legion cornered a lot of that mental illness as a superpower market. Also a Marvel property, even though it's X-Men, but still. So yeah, I think that's all we have to say about that until we hear some real casting news. Alright, take us away, Ricardo.
They put out a new look at the filming of Avatar 2, which, for me, this is the first time I've seen anything regarding Avatar 2.
This is definitely the most dynamic image they've released so far. Most of the stuff's been like Zoe Saldana looking up at James Cameron from the edge of a water tank. It makes me wonder what is going on.
It's pretty wild looking, man. I don't know enough about what's going to happen in Avatar 2 to really have much of an opinion about what's happening besides that whatever it is, it's going to be interesting. I think one of you said it was mostly about dealing with like the underwater society on the planet.
Mm-hmm. So the image is Kate Winslet in a water tank in a weird bodysuit waving around big flags like she's in a high school marching band performance. And it makes me wonder if, since they are dealing with these new underwater creatures in this new underwater world of Pandora, is Kate Winslet's character, I'm assuming, going to be some kind of water creature?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure there was an article where she didn't give much in terms of who she's playing. All she would say is like, yeah, I'm a water person. I'm gonna be a water person in this movie. I held my breath for like 7 minutes.
Oh yeah, I've read
Yeah,
about that.
I saw
I've read
that
about
too.
how she did all that training. It'll be very interesting to see where this goes. I don't think there's much to say about it other than looks weird.
They're coming for you, Jason Momoa.
See you in the Snyder Cut. Let's
Pretty
get
good.
the flip out of here.
If Snyder had any integrity, he'd shoot his entire movie underwater.
I'm gonna at you, Snyder.
All right. Another TV show announcement this week was that Netflix is developing a live-action Assassin's Creed series. Didn't tell us more than that, but that sounds like an interesting partnership to me. They made that really bad Michael
Oh,
Fassbender
I was so
movie
excited for that movie.
that was in development forever. That movie was in development for like 8 years or something.
I remember I was on that hype train for a while. I mean, I was an Assassin's Creed game fan for like up until Black Flag was the last great one. So that's like a ton of games. I want to say that's like 6 games maybe, and I was all in for it, but the curse of the video game adaptation movie just like swept through it, and I didn't even end up seeing it because of how bad the reviews were.
I think Assassin's Creed especially is a difficult concept to adapt into live action because I think the entire idea of you are time traveling and going back into a person who lived previously is such a weird idea that's so well suited for a video game. I think they would be more successful if they maybe just did a series that was set in whatever time they wanted it to be in and didn't focus on the whole time travel aspect.
Yeah, they go off the damn deep
Yeah.
end. There's like aliens and ancient civilizations, and I think, it does suffer a lot when you're trying to adapt it to the like live action stuff when they're they're gonna be, they're gonna try to shoehorn in all that Abstergo, present day Templar stuff, and I don't know.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you've got to make it digestible for casual viewers, because you can't only target a series or a movie at people who played the Assassin's Creed games. You need to bring in new people to the franchise, and I think that's just too convoluted and too much to fill in to make it work in a filmic adaptation.
Yeah, I could see them going the way of like how Netflix did The Witcher, where it was kind of like a mix between the lore of the games and the lore of the book, so you didn't have to like be caught up on either necessarily to really get into it. So we'll see if they maybe kind of take it easier on the more complex time travel lore and focus on the like assassins as a guild. I know Netflix is also doing like a Resident Evil show / movie right now, so they're really leaning into video game stuff at the moment, and I just hope that they're not stretching themselves a little thin in terms of making these quality, considering they both have like very large, very opinionated fan bases already.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And then we've got another Netflix property up next. We got a longer full look at Selena the Series. A trailer dropped this week.
Yeah, baby.
I am more educated than I was last time, because I thought I would probably save that for when this came out and give you my thoughts a little bit closer to this release.
Seamus, you saw this trailer, right? What are your thoughts?
I think it looks interesting. I haven't seen the movie in ages, but I know that, it seems very family focused, which I know, like, the true to life story was very much about her family as well. So they're really making it look like a sweet and honest look at this experience through all of the family members too. I'm glad they're kind of also keeping some of the more later in life stuff under wraps, it seems.
I did a little digging on this one because as much as I do want to see this show come out, like, how are you going to stretch that up for a whole show? Like, it works for the movie. And what I found out is it's a little deeper than that. Not only is it going to go into Selena's whole backstory, but, give more of a broader look at just what it means to be Mexican in America, which was a big theme of that original movie, by, like, really getting into their family relationship and, like, how they interact with each other, and how back in the day, one of the big problems for them was that they couldn't get played on any of the big radio stations because they were Mexican. But Mexicans weren't crazy about them either because they were American. So I think that's going to be a real heavy theme with this one coming up.
I look forward to taking a look at it.
Very excited.
Honestly, it's in December. Let's do one. Let's do an episode.
That'd be
fun.
We watch the
premiere
original movie or something.
Yeah, we'll figure that out when we get closer to it. That sounds really fun.
Totally. I know you said you wanted to go in cold, Garrett, for this show.
Well, not necessarily for the show, because we had talked about before me essentially coming in and going through that story as part of the podcast. So not necessarily for the show. I'm happy to do the movie or research or a book or whatever.
Whatever we do. I think maybe doing the movie at some point in general, just because it is like actually a very good film, might be. I would like to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah, and you too, Ricardo. I think that you'd have a great perspective on that stuff.
I'd love to do it.
So keep your eyes peeled in December. We might be dropping some Selena content. Speaking of trailers,
Yep.
Garrett, you want to lead us into this one?
Absolutely. We've got a trailer for Stardust, a terrible-looking David Bowie biopic.
Now, when you say terrible looking, you mean maybe a little strange? What about this trailer made me uneasy, kind of?
I'm just glad I'm not the only one that felt the same way.
Well, part of it is the fact that I think it's distilling David Bowie as a personality to a very generic, I don't know who to be, I'm just a musician who can't find my footing. It's just not working. Nothing about it says David Bowie.
Yeah, especially that guy who looks nothing like David Bowie.
Oh, God.
The tone just looks like unbalanced. Not even Mark Maron showing up could save the tone of that trailer. It just doesn't look good. It looks like a empty, hollow cash grab trying to follow up the successes of Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody, and it just does not look like it's working. And after doing research, I guess David Bowie's family has disavowed this interpretation of his life story.
Oh my God.
And I'm so curious, because if you're already committed to doing this movie and you've gotten the thumbs down from Bowie's family, why is it so generic looking? That would allow them to maybe take risks with telling that story and focus on the more controversial aspects of Bowie as personality, but no, it just looks really bad.
A lot of the stuff I noticed from that trailer seemed like thematically about like the finding his like stage identity and like kind of changing who he is a little bit to fit the character he wants to be. Sounds so much like a lot of the stuff they were dealing with in Rocket Man. Like, just in that movie, it seems like such a close proximity in theme, let alone close proximity in just like, I guess like you said, they are probably trying to piggyback off of the recent success of these very famous British biopic rock and roll movies.
Tilda Swinton was not cast as David Bowie, and that was mistake
right.
number
like
one.
They have the perfect opportunity, but they bungled it.
Yeah, I don't know. Looks pretty bad. I'm a big David Bowie fan too. I don't know if you guys know that about me.
I feel like we've talked about it before. I'm a pretty big David Bowie man myself. Yeah, I remember I watched this trailer this morning, and then I was like in my head trying to convince myself like, oh yeah, cool, I'll see this, and then like 10 seconds later I was like, why would I even bother seeing this?
All right, last couple quick bits of news. Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed another few weeks to come out December 10th. I know that this game has been super infamous on delays. I haven't been keeping up with it, but I was so confused when I saw that it had been delayed because I was convinced it had already been out, because it seems like Your Breathtaking happened 1,000 years ago.
Oh my god. Well, I guess you probably were confused because it was supposed to come out in like a week, and you know, they put out some statement that was like, you might not think an extra 20 days will be like worth us tweaking it to like make it great. And I don't know, how can 20, like, they've been working on this game for like 5 years, how is 20 extra days gonna be that much of a difference? My god.
Hey man, in situations like this, delays for games are always a good thing. They have the time to tweak it. They don't have to like sleep at their desks and wake up and go back to work immediately.
That's the thing though, Ricardo, is I feel like I keep thinking about, you know, when they had to delay Sonic and fix everything. I'm just thinking about it. You heard the horror stories about all the poor animators that were doing exactly what you're describing, sleeping at their desks, trying to hammer out what they were trying to fix, like, which in Sonic's case was the entire main character. And so I keep getting flashes of that whenever I read about the Cyberpunk news, and I hope that's not what's going on. I hope that delay is giving them time to be healthy and not put their programmers and playtesters and everybody else through hell for the next few weeks.
God, I hope not too. You know, you hear this stuff about like Naughty Dog and their, you know, very upsetting practices, and like a lot of these major companies partake in this, but is that like what they're doing? They're like modeling and animating still 20 days out? Like these, I feel...
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what the specific problem is, but I just mean I'm always worried about these crunch time projects.
It could be anything. It could be like animation on a character. It could be just like piece of code that's just like not working that they can't seem to figure out. There's so many different parts that go into like making a video game.
You know, I guess especially for a game of this like caliber, which has been touted as like this, you know, super immersive, intense RPG that's got a trillion options to do a trillion different things. So I'm sure there's a lot to work with there.
And then Ricardo, you had one last piece of news, right?
Oh yeah, this isn't really like huge news, but I found out about Batwheels, the upcoming show about a talking Batmobile. From what I know, there's no Batman in it. It's just about
that's awesome. I'm on. Wait, I was not in on it. Now I'm on board.
Going on adventures. I think it can talk to like the Robin cycle or any of the other like
what
vehicles in the game.
That's weird.
Now, Ricardo, has they confirmed that it's going to be in the Cars universe yet?
Giant windshield eyeballs.
You said it, now
God,
I want
get out
it.
of here.
Follow-up question. Is the Batmobile going to have a gravelly Christian Bale?
I was going to say, is he like the persona of Batman, or is he like going to be...
I mean, how else would you do
I don't know, I could see like a Robo-Alfred
I kind of
AI bot that controls the car or something.
Buried the lead a little bit, but it is going to be a kid show. And when I say that, I mean like kid.
Like little kid show?
Yeah.
That one show that I'm now blanking on and can't remember, where it's like Cars, but it's on Cubo, so it's like disturbingly worse animation. You're like, oh, how is this? It's like a airplane with a human face or something. Nightmare fuel. JJ the jet plane. God. Ba 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 ba. Pa-pa-pa-pa. It's almost the Enrico Marcone soundtrack, truly. We're back, Mando
though.
Bros. It's season 2.
It's good to be back, Seamus. I'm so glad that of all the things that COVID took away from us, we have this to clutch on
I'm
to.
excited for the prospect of weekly schedule. I'm ready for some structure here, boys. I love it.
We have been so up in the air on content lately. Yeah, it's really nice to know that we're going to have a regular weekly segment devoted to The Mandalorian.
This first episode, gentlemen, holy cow. I woke up nice and early, got a little cup of coffee, I sat down, and I put on episode 1, chapter 9. It was a blast.
Well, actually, before that, Seamus, you actually put on our pop culture recap for The Mandalorian Season 1, live now on our YouTube channel, and then you watched.
See, what I actually did was I started the episode, and there's a recap of the first season, and I watched through that from Disney Plus, and I was like, man, we have a better one than those. That's ridiculous. And I immediately went to the pop culture recap on our YouTube channel because I was dissing Disney Plus a little bit.
But good news is now you're all caught up and you were able to fully enjoy, the season 2 opener, knowing that you knew everything you needed to know from
No
season
joke,
1.
there was a couple things in our recap that are maybe important to pay attention to for this first episode, and I'm pretty proud of that, that we kind of touched on some things that actually came to fruition.
Yes, I was surprised by that as well. It made me proud.
Yes.
We did good work. So let's start with overall thoughts. What did you guys think of the season 2 opener?
Hooks you right back in is a good way to put it, because I didn't even realize how excited I was for this until last night, when I realized that I was going to get to see it again today, and we were going to get these weekly, episode drops, and it is top 2 maybe in best Star Wars thing ever for me still. And I don't know, I'm struggling to not say these things that are going to come up in spoilers right now. I was just so floored by how good it has been and how good it will probably continue to be.
Yeah, it's a really solid opener. I think they do a nice little scene at the very beginning to kind of get back into the world and the tone of The Mandalorian, but also remind you of some of the less friendly aspects of the series, because I think we're safe to talk about the first scene pretty much in its entirety. Mando is looking for other Mandalorians, hopefully that will be able to help him and point him in the right direction on his quest to find other Jedi to reunite the child with. And he gets in a nice little scrape where he just takes out everybody that tries to take him out. And it's pretty brutal, to be honest. I think it's some of the most brutal violence we've seen on this series so far. And the series makes the point of showing us that Baby Yoda is seeing what Mando is doing. That they cut to a couple of reaction shots of Baby Yoda recognizing Mando's weapons, of him seeing Mando take out specific characters. And I think when we look back at, what happened in the penultimate episode of last season, where he ended up force choking Kara on board the Razor Crest, we might see Baby Yoda start to emulate some of these darker tendencies that Din, as we now know his name is from season 1, is showing him.
Yeah, it might dip into a little bit more of that that kind of moral struggle that we see from the Mandalorians in the Clone Wars, when Mandalore has turned into more of a passive society, and we might see Mando struggle. I'm sorry, I know it's Din, but I naturally say Mando.
It's hard not to call him Mando.
We might have to see him struggle with his own personal creed of do I want this little green monster to grow up like me, or should I be, making that strive for a better life for him in general, even though his quest really is to kind of move him on to the next stage of wherever he's going. But yeah, I don't know. It is interesting that they're making a big point of having us notice him noticing all this violence, like you said.
And especially the first thing right before the, not the opening credits, but the title card for the episode. And by the way, it is chapter 9. We're not resetting our chapters as we go, so this is a continuation from chapter 8, sees that Mando just leaves
Oh,
that guy to
yeah.
die.
It's pretty dark.
Like a Connery Bond villain. Like, just, I won't kill you, but...
Screwed up monsters.
Yeah, it's a really interesting little mystery that they set up there, that obviously there's some kind of creepy carnivorous scavengers that attack people in the darkness.
Yeah, you mentioned that it was a very, like, Bond way to end somebody. And I had kind of a similar thought of just, like, the prospect of doing this, like, shady business deal in a crowded boxing match, too, seemed very James Bondy to me. Of, like, the sporting event, the boxing match, whatever. And then, you know, he does his, what does he say? It's like, you will not die by my hand, or something, was his little tricky turn of phrase so that he could just leave him to get torn to shreds. Dark stuff, but it's totally awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then we're back on Tatooine in this
man.
episode.
I almost want to just jump into spoilers here. They do a lot of big things in this episode that I really want to just jump around to.
Yeah, very quickly. So let's wrap up our general thoughts. I'm glad that we got the Tatooine episode out of the way in this first one, just because we knew from all the promotional images, and that I only saw the first trailer, but a lot of the content of that first trailer was in this episode, which I'm also happy about, just because this way we're not sitting here anticipating, the Tatooine episode.
Yeah, without getting too far into that either, it seems like they'll probably come back at some point, maybe do a revisit, but it's good to get a lot of that bigger stuff that they were teasing throughout this, hiatus period to get out of the way, so we're not, like, glued to our screens trying to figure out when that stuff is going to happen. Amazing. Just what I had expected, and I'm even still blown out of the water. Just everything that happens. It's totally awesome.
Yeah, I liked this one. I was surprised a little bit at how it took a little bit more of a page from the more episodic of the episodes last season, that it wasn't a beginning of a bigger overarching story, or at least it wasn't as obviously the beginning of an overarching story. I do think they teased some stuff that's obviously going to come back later, but I was glad to see it returning to kind of this old Western TV series format. Astounding.
I don't know what I expected going into it, but it brought me back just immediately. So good. I want to see more. I love the Western feel of it, and to me, it's never felt more Western than this episode. He's literally on his speeder bike, and I can hear the hoof clops in my head.
Yeah, and we'll definitely touch on that a little bit more in spoilers. But yes, I think this is the one that feels the most explicitly like a Western out of the whole series. With that, should we go into spoilers, guys? Okay, so many Easter eggs, and it did not feel as blatantly fan servicey as the Tatooine episode from last season. I didn't think. I thought it felt much more integrated into the story.
Yeah, man. There's so many. The speeder bike engine, the ice cream machine. It's got a name in universe now.
Yes, that was nice to see. The little portable vault thing that we saw from, obviously for the ice cream maker from Empire that then showed up last season. And then about the speeder bike engine, which is very clearly a repurposed pod racer engine. Do you think that's supposed to be from Anakin's pod? I see a lot of people
saying, clinging on to anything they can to be like, it's gotta be Anakin's, it's gotta be. I don't think it is, but I think that it's definitely, I heard some stuff already, people throwing around after Anakin won his race and people saw how fast that kind of engine can be, that was kind of people kind of repurposed other engines to recreate that style again, but I think it was just a fun little nod. It couldn't possibly be the actual engine.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I mean, it was fun nonetheless to see. The thing that made me scream to the point that Annie came out of her room and was like, "Can you please be quiet?" was R5.
Yes, R5, man. Oh, Amy Sedaris has him just dooting around her hangar.
And you love to see it. You love to see the scorch marks on his exterior in case it wasn't obvious enough that
with the bad motivator.
It's the same R5. Yeah. And I was pretty hyped about that.
That was blood-curdling scream, and he's like, "What is it?" And you're just like, "It's gotta be R5. It's him. He's here."
But obviously the biggest Easter egg this week was, Cobb Vanth is confirmed to be in the main Star Wars saga. He was a minor character from the Aftermath trilogy of books. Heavily implied that he had Boba Fett's armor after, all the unpleasantness with the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine. He's a very obscure character. And so it was very interesting to see such an obscure character, pop up in, the biggest Star Wars thing going on right now. And I thought they handled him really well. Obviously, Timothy Oliphant is wonderful and charming as always.
Oh, absolutely.
I really hope he comes back because he's really good.
Oh, he has to. He gives the old, I hope our paths cross again someday, Mando, at the end there. And they better, because he is so good. I half expected him to get killed at the end of the episode.
Me too.
But, they kept him around for a reason, so he better come back.
Do you think we'll do a season 1 style team up at the end of this season where Mando goes and gets all his buddies together to fight the big bad?
That's what I was almost thinking, like a little Magnificent Seven style again, to just, maybe they combine the teams now. We still get Karga and Kara to come back through.
I mean, especially with, Seamus, I don't necessarily think episode 2 will start off of Tatooine. I think it's possible we could see more Tatooine in episode 2 because of the way episode 1 ends with that big reveal. Boba Fett's still wandering the Dune Sea.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing we could talk about besides Timothy Oliphant is, let's go for it, man.
It's a big thing to talk about. I loved the whole plot with the crate dragon and everything, but I mean, this is the meat of the episode in terms of implications for the future of the show.
Like you said, that the last 20 seconds and I guess just the fact that Timothy Oliphant is still alive at the end are the most important for the rest of the season at least.
So Ricardo, I take it you have umbrage with the return of Boba Fett?
To me, Boba Fett comes with a lot of baggage in that I don't want any connections to the old stuff. For me, Mandalorian feels so kind of removed. I want to see more stuff we've never seen before with Star Wars. I don't want to keep going back to Tatooine to see the same people over and over again.
I honestly completely agree with Ricardo. As cool as that reveal is, I really don't want Boba Fett on this show. It was cool to see him pop up, but I'm much more invested in The Mandalorian as a solo story. Now, there is some hypocrisy in that I'm really excited to see Ahsoka hopefully show up this season. But I've never been the biggest Boba Fett guy either, Ricardo. I do think his stuff on Clone Wars is really well done.
I feel like that should be the absolute anchor for why you guys should be hyped for this. They're gonna maybe finally use him in a live action property to the full extent of what his legend should be. He's so famous for pretty much just how cool he looks in the original trilogy. Now they're finally gonna get to make up for a little bit of lost time, use him properly, get him some cool Mando action. I think that this should be your guys' ticket into loving Boba Fett more than you do.
I think it all depends on what they do with him, to be honest. Right now I'm not hyped, but we have seen that this story team is really good at reinvigorating aspects of the Star Wars universe that maybe weren't the most exciting to us as fans beforehand, but they found a way to make it cool and fresh. And so I would love to see their take on it. I hope it's really good,
Yeah, I'll roll with whatever they're doing.
Well, that being said, I really liked how they expanded on the Tatooine stuff this episode. I thought everything with the Tusken Raiders was outstanding. I loved seeing more of their culture and the way that they work, not just as savages, kind of like what we said in our pop culture recap for season 1. They were using their gaffy sticks to clean the bantha's teeth. I thought that was really cool. And I really liked seeing the crate dragon. We haven't really seen one of those in big action before.
Dude,
especially because
the crate dragon caught me so off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like a giant Tremors worm.
That's what people were saying, yeah.
But also, that's important to Mando because I believe in Legends, if not still in canon, part of the thing is that Mandalorians used to ride crate dragons.
Oh, snap. I forgot about that.
If this isn't building up to him riding a crate dragon into battle in the finale, what are we even doing here?
Hey, man.
That'd be pretty cool.
Give it some time.
A couple other Easter eggs kind of related to what we were just saying. One, the fact that the crate dragon, its call does sound like the call that Obi-Wan does to scare away the Tusken Raiders, officially confirming that he was doing a crate dragon impression to scare the Tusken Raiders away in episode 4.
Whoa, okay.
That's really rad. And then also, during our big crate dragon finale, the fact that Mando hits the back of the Boba Fett armor's jetpack to make it misfire and go in the air just like Han Solo does in
Loved
episode
that.
6.
Loved it to death.
Chef kiss. Perfect.
That
It
says
was
to
wonderful.
me that since he knows how to do that, that's just a feature on all jetpacks.
I was gonna
in
say
Star
It's like a
Wars
Buzz
world.
Lightyear, you know?
yeah.
You just lightly tap it in the right place, it'll just kind of shoot you off into a random direction.
Yeah, it's like that brand of jetpack is known to malfunction, so he's just like, alright, I know how to get rid of this guy quick. Bam.
How I read into that was that there is some kind of, like, obviously that armor is so broken, and Cobb even mentions the fact that it's broken when he gives it back to Mando at the end of the episode. It makes me think that there's some kind of exposed part or button or something that Mando was exploiting. Maybe that Han Solo either also used or caused back during episode 6.
Real quick, speaking of like Timothy Oliphant having to give the armor back, when he first showed up and he took the helmet off, was anyone else like kind of with Mando? Was like, that is offensive. How dare you?
I thought that they handled that entire character introduction really well, because it was tense, and I was invested in it, and I could see where both of them were coming from as characters. Again, the writing on the show is just really good, and again, in this episode, they found a way to give us an insight into Mando's emotions without having us see his face, which I am afraid, obviously, that they are going to run out of ways to do that, and that it limits the emotional range of the show. But they're still doing a really good job with it in this season opener.
What if they go full Deadpool and just have like the little black part of the mask move?
Like Spider-Man's eyes?
Yeah, just do that for every stormtrooper, everyone who wears a helmet on Star Wars.
I was gonna bring up the prospect that, the fact that Mando knows that this jetpack can be just like bumped and send people flying. Maybe that was just like I don't know, Mandalorian knowledge. These old jetpacks are garbage. He has one of the new, like, updated versions that they decided that were worth more. Or, you know, Boba Fett just mistreated his armor and jetpack because he's not, like, an actual Mandalorian from a clan and he didn't really understand.
Well, that could be a clever setup to something else down the line. You know, presumably, if Mando's going to be traveling with the Boba Fett armor, if an adversary or something is wearing that jetpack, or if he needs to get Baby Yoda away really quickly, those are some things that's something he could utilize down the line in the season, depending on what direction they go with it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Boba Fett did not just end up killing Timothy. I thought Timothy Oliphant was going to get shot dead by Boba Fett, then he was going to get his armor back at the end, so I'm glad we avoided that. We'll probably get a few more showdowns worth of fun stuff between all of them together, so.
I hope so. We didn't even talk about Baby Yoda this episode.
He was adorable. I feel like maybe they're putting in more baby noises to, like, make it cuter, because there's a lot of baby noise.
There was a lot of baby noise.
Not a complaint. I thought it was adorable. You know, he, like you said before, he does a thing where he recognizes the whistling birds are about to go off, and he, like, closes his little hover stroller.
I believe the canon term is hoverpram.
Hoverpram, excuse me. Yeah, I thought he might have come in for, like, the big crate dragon fight and, like, kind of pull a Mudhorn scene again where he, like, uses the Force, but I'm glad they didn't, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more important moment in this season where he comes in clutch with the Force, so I'm glad they didn't burn it on the first episode.
Especially because this episode already felt so much both like the episode with the Mudhorn from Season 1 and the episode with the ATST from Season 1.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't just Deus Ex Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I thought this was a really solid season opener. I'm really excited to see where it goes as we continue our Mando Bros segment. Now it's time for our pop culture reference of the episode, which is the Star Wars canon versus Star Wars Expanded Universe, or as it's now known, Star Wars Legends. So, back before the megacorp known as Disney purchased Lucasfilm, things were a lot more loosey-goosey about, you know, who could create Star Wars properties, what was canon versus not canon, and everything basically that wasn't the movies or the mainstream TV shows was what was known as the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now, when Disney bought Star Wars, they did away with all of that. They said only the movies and the Clone Wars TV show are canon. The rest of it is what's known as Legends now. So when you hear people talk about the Star Wars Expanded Universe or the EU or Star Wars Legends, they're actually talking about the same thing. Now, we have seen some examples of things from Star Wars Legends creep their way into the Star Wars Expanded Universe, partially through shows like Rebels, where you see Grand Admiral Thrawn, who was an Expanded Universe character, come in a slightly tweaked version fitting for the Rebels universe. Same thing with like Starkiller Base is based on Expanded Universe material. Even the character of Kylo Ren, which is obviously the figurehead, really, of like the Disney Star Wars era, is based on the character of Ben Solo from the Expanded Universe. So you see these things coming in, also on things like The Mandalorian.
Yeah, a lot of the Expanded Universe was based around a collective of authors who were making standalone novels that would sometimes have sequels that would be based on various, background characters or completely original characters altogether. And there was actually an internal grading scale of these authors by how close to canon that they could agree on. So there was even in the extended universe itself more canon things versus less canon things, but like Garrett said, it is kind of stricken from the record as anything official, and elements are being cherry-picked as we go along with the new Disney era of Star Wars.
Didn't George Lucas at one point call the Expanded Universe like the Holy Ghost in his like Father, Son, Holy Ghost weird metaphor?
I've never heard that, but that's hilarious.
Sounds like
You've never
he would
heard
say
that?
it.
Yeah, I think he said the movies are the Father. It's a whole thing. He was just super weird. It reminds me of his whole poetry it rhymes thing.
He's a weird man.
Lucas has weird ideas about like the philosophy of Star Wars' franchise, but I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing for the most part. But I mean, in addition to the bigger elements that are cherry-picked and brought into the Disney canon, there are some things that they've just kind of not bothered to change that were only, brought up as fact in Legends, like the names of certain species or certain background characters that Disney's just kind of kept because it's easier than changing everything, So, while Legends might technically be mostly stricken from the Star Wars canon, it's still influencing, like, everything as we go along. And now you see these books and comics and things that Disney has a tighter grip on that they're making canon now are kind of retelling the same stories a lot of the time within the new Disney universe. So Timothy Zahn, who made the original Thrawn trilogy back when it was in Legends, now is brought in and is making a new Thrawn series of books for Disney that are better fitted into the Disney universe. So yeah, it's all kind of complicated and dumb, and basically just like whatever Star Wars content you like. And I think people get really upset about what's canon versus not canon versus speculation versus... I mean, just like Star Wars fans get stupid upset about everything. But basically that's the essential breakdown. Expanded Universe and Legends are the same thing, and then there's what's new and canon that Disney is overseeing.
Wherever you may fall, the holiday special is always canon.
Damn it.
Okay. Seamus, why don't you start us off?
My rec center this week is a film that I haven't seen since high school, but I just rewatched it the other day, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed Pleasantville with Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon, I want to say.
Yeah, that's a wonderful
It's
movie.
wild. I watched it pretty young. I mean, I guess it was high school, but like, it's so funny. It's way more dramatic than I remember too. They like really touch on a lot of, very intense things, adultery, racism, things like that. And I don't know. It's a blast. Younger, I guess, Tobey Maguire gets sucked into a black and white 1950s sitcom with his sister, and it's as fun as that sounds because it is so much fun. It's 2 hours somehow, and I didn't remember that, but it's definitely worth the 2 hours.
That is one of my favorite
It's
movies.
so
Seamus, I
good.
love
It's
that
so
movie.
good.
Is Ernest Borgnine is the cable guy in that, right?
I misremembered that exact same thing before I watched it. It's the guy from the Andy Griffith Show. I swear to God, for some reason I thought it was Ernest Borgnine too. Borgnine?
Ernest Borgnine, yeah.
Because love that man to death, and I think that every time I see him on screen, I get a little flutter in my chest, but...
It is Don
yes!
Knotts.
Yeah, okay.
That's crazy!
So yeah, that is about as deep of a cut as it gets for a movie like that, for sure.
Why do we
Good for
both think
him.
it's Ernest Borgnine?
I don't know. Maybe it's... I think it's maybe because of the uniform of a cabbie versus the uniform of a TV repairman is similar. But I don't know.
He must play a TV repairman or something in another movie, because that is such a vivid
It's so
image in
so
my
weird,
head.
right?
A remnant of the Mandela universe.
That's what that is.
Honestly, that's what I was thinking.
Oh god.
Mine's a little different because it's not a piece of media as a whole. It's a streaming service, actually. Y'all ever heard of Tubi, son?
Oh, I've watched some Tubi.
Tubi?
I just found out about Tubi. Why is no one talking about Tubi? Son, there's
what
so
is
much
it?
good stuff on here.
It's
a-
Quibi 2.
I was
Tubi.
gonna make that joke, Garrett, but you stole it from me.
It's a streaming service, totally free, and it's got some like pretty good titles on here for being free. Like they got Fury, they got Third Rock from the Sun. What else?
Oh,
That's
nice.
a great show.
There's so much on my list right now. The original Australian Wilfred, that's on
Oh,
here,
that show is so much
Oh,
fun.
cool.
as well as Edgar Wright's sitcom Spaced with Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. That's
oh,
on here.
nice. Tubi. You said
And
how
all-
is it free though? Like, is there ads or is it ad free?
I mean, there's like a few ads, but for what you're getting, I think it's tolerable. Like it's all they've got every single George Carlin stand-up special on here. It's crazy.
Oh, that's fun. Right on.
Yeah, I've had to use Tubi for a few things that it happened to be the only thing that it was streaming on was Tubi for whatever reason. So it's definitely a usable service to say the least.
You can watch all of Alf for free.
Oh, there it is. That's why Ricardo's into Tubi's, because of the
Yeah.
Alf angle.
The man is a fiend for Alf.
Lucha Underground's on here.
Lucha
Seamus, I know you know.
Underground! Yes! From the El Rey network. Oh, I love Lucha Underground.
Garrett, I don't believe you were there to be a part of our Lucha Underground phase.
Our obsession with Lucha Underground
I
like
did not
4
know
years
about
ago.
that, no.
The people next door were kept banging on the wall because we kept getting really rowdy while watching Lucha Underground. It got real intense.
It's so good. It's Robert Rodriguez's TV network's dramatized lucha wrestling show.
It sounds
it's
good.
something else.
They got Whiplash.
Ooh,
man.
Art
It's
House.
on here.
Ooh.
Damn, I was thinking about rewatching that again soon. Maybe I'll hit up Tubi. Wait, Tubi?
Quibi 2.
Tubi.
Yeah.
All right.
That's TUBI. And this is going to come out like after Halloween, but they got a lot of Elvira
cool.
hosted movies on here.
Oh, that's
In a-
cool.
In a spooky mood, check those out.
Very nice.
Right on.
All right, last, I've got my rec center, which is going to be, obviously one of us had to do it, the TV series Justified, starring Timothy Oliphant as U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens. Also one of the best performances literally ever by Walton Goggins, playing the character of Boyd Crowder. Just an absolute powerhouse of a series. It is up there, I think, with something like The Wire or The Sopranos as one of the best TV shows ever, but I never see it held up to that standard. The second season in particular is, I think, really amazing. So, if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, it's got similar Western influences, but with a modern twist. Obviously, Justified's a little bit more grounded, but it is just a really amazing time. It's really paying homage to those older shows that came before it and doing a modern take. The entire thing is streaming on Hulu right now, so if you've got any interest, I highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, if not for Timothy Oliphant, please for Walton Goggins. If not for Walton Goggins, for the beautiful and talented Margot Martindale. She's also great in this.
Alright, that puts this week's episode of Pop Culture Reference in the can. If you want to reach the show, you can tweet us at PCR_podcast. Follow us on Instagram at that same handle. You can also shoot us an email at popculturereferencepod@gmail.com. See you next week. If you're getting ready to start The Mandalorian Season 2, you need a refresher, check out our YouTube channel for our new series, Pop Culture Recap, where we start off by doing a recap of the first season of The Mandalorian. Until then, see you next week.